on the list is KW1 Nancy, G of George, KW1NG at Phil. And number 2 is Kevin, WA6JKN is in Nancy, followed by Phil, N6WHK. And then put me in number 4 there, if you can, AK6R. You got the first 4 so far?
Okay, KW1G, what's the name on that one?
Mel, M-E-L.
It's actually 10, Kilo Echo November.
I'm sorry, Kate, I wrote down the wrong place. It's Kilo Echo November. Go ahead.
Okay, now I got WA6JKN, Kevin, and N6WHK, that would be Phil. And then, of course, somebody I know, AK6R, I wonder who that is.
Roberto.
Okay, very good, Roberto.
All right, here comes the next 4. W6 Delta Queen, Dennis. Followed by K6 ZTA, Vaughn. And then Rocco, N6KN. And then WA6 LKR. I think that's Bill. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going a little bit fast, so I missed the first one, so I got the W6 something here. Repeat that one, Bob, again, please?
Yeah, W6 Delta Queen, W6DQ, Dennis.
Okay, and then I got K6ZTA, that would be what, Vaughn?
Roger that.
And then N6KN, go ahead.
After that is, K6ZTA, Vaughn, and then N6KN, over.
Okay, and that would be what, Rocco?
Yeah, Sir Roger.
And then W6LKR?
That's right.
Okay, and who would that be?
I believe it's Bill.
And 4-inch and 4.
Okay, I got it. I'm ready for the next 4, Bob.
Okay, well here comes another Bob, WA9JIB. That's Bob. Followed by W6WUH. That's Larry. And then Chris, KI6CSA. And then John, WA6JUS. Over.
Trying to write the name, so hold on. And K6CSA, that would be Chris?
KI6, Kilowatt India
What
System.
said he's going to do? Find another microphone, or you would run the best microphone? What did he say?
Okie doke. I'm ready for the next 4, Bob. You can slow it down just a little bit.
Okay, we got 4 more to go. The first one is Nancy 4 Delta Lima Alpha N4DLA. That's Matthew. And that's followed up by Skip K6 LGL. Skip K6 LGL. And then you were next on my list, NY6L. You're going to be the ceremony host tonight, so forget that. And the last one on the list that I have is W6YEC, George. W6YEC. Over.
Microphone is just fine.
Okay, I think I got it all. Bob, go ahead.
Yeah, Roger. Yeah, just put me in number 4 there, and I'll park myself there. Thanks.
Okie doke. All right. Very good. Well, let me get my shortened preamble out, and we'll get started here. Got my hands full, so stand by for about 10 seconds. NY6L. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome, everybody, to the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable. This is Jay, NY6L. I'm QTH in Hesperia, California. And I'm the host for this evening's roundtable. Roundtable. Tonight the station I'm using, I'm using a little bit more modern Kenwood here with an amplifier so I can be heard, so we'll just scratch that. We meet each Tuesday evening at or near about 3895. All of us should be using equipment that is manufactured before 1981 or home-built equipment with equivalent technology. First-timers, however, may use modern equipment. So we have a question of the evening which follows. Before I do that, is there any other announcements before I continue? NY6L Net Control.
W62.
Mr. Dennis, good evening. Go ahead, take it away.
Thank you, Jay. Just reiterating the announcement for the barbecue. Don't forget, get in touch with Lisa or I by email. April 27th, that's a Saturday. It's the last weekend in April. We're planning on the barbecue here for the single sideband roundtable, and we hope to see everybody here. So, my call sign at ARRL.net will get you here, and there you go. Back to you, Jay, and Y6L W62.
All right, very good, Dennis. Anybody else with any announcements before I get going and get started here? NY6L. Okay, hearing none. Moving papers around. Okay, well, I kind of had to think this up kind of quickly this evening here, last minute here. So the question of the evening, okay, restoration of your favorite radio. What did you do to restore your favorite radio and or improve on it on your restoration? And were you pretty much satisfied with your restoration? So that's pretty much the question of the evening. So with that said, forward to Ken. KW1NG is the first. We'll go in groups of 4. Then Ken, please give it to Kevin, WA6JKN. Kevin, please give it to Phil, N6WHK. And then Phil, please give it to Bob, AK6R, and Bob, give it back to me. So, Ken, take it away. KW1NG, NY6L.
Okay, very good, Jay. Thank you. We are running the S-line tonight, the 75S3C receiver, 32S3 transmitter with the Share 444 mic, and a 30L1 amplifier, which appears to be offline. Hang on. Okay, that might be a little bit better. And out to Bob's 95-foot inverted L. It's up about 35 feet, 35 feet, and it seems to work quite well. So appreciative of that. I have not really restored any radios recently. I've built things, but the most recent thing is an amplifier that I was given by my boss, C9MWO, Joseph, and he had a GSB 101 Thompson 811A tube amplifier in his garage. Belonged to his dad, and it was in the garage about 15, 17 years. Got painted with house paint, just kind of trashed, I guess you'd say. So Larry, KN6IYC, was looking for an amplifier to go with his vintage station. He had a Ranger, Viking transmitter, and a HQ170 receiver that he wanted to put an amplifier with, and it fit quite nicely with the genre. So Larry figured out how to get the house paint off of it and used nail polish remover on the front panel. And it did not touch the paint, but it did take off the house paint. So he got that front panel all nice and bright and shiny, and then used WD-40 on the crackle black finish on the cabinet, and went inside and cleaned the chassis and cleaned the contacts, did the spray thing on all the with the oxide on all the switches and so forth, and brought it up on a variac to, reform the capacitors and all that. And it's working great. He got it wired into his system, and he was on AMI with it last night. So, kind of thrilled about that. So, vicariously restored an amplifier. Last night on AMI was very nice. Had a really nice memorial that just kind of developed from the announcement that K6CJA was Silent Key, that he had been discovered Silent Key after a few months of nobody knowing what went on, and everybody shared their thoughts and their interactions and dealings with Ken, and it actually turned into, it was not meant to be so, but it turned into a really nice celebration of life. And so I didn't know Ken, but I really enjoyed listening to it, and felt that I knew him a little bit better. He seemed like a tough guy, but a softy once you got to know him. So anyway, that was a thought I wanted to share for this evening. That's about it for me. I'm going to turn it on to Kevin, WA6JKN. Take it away. KW1NG.
Yeah, KW1NG. This is WA6JKN. Yeah, thank you very much for mentioning Ken, K6CJA, who became a Silent Key back around June, July of last year. We were wondering what happened to him. He kind of went off the air on the AMI net, and I know Jay NY6L been out to his property several times looking for him, and to no avail. So finally got a hold of his granddaughter, talked to her on the phone, and she gave me the scoop and what happened. He was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. Was going through treatment, and that seemed to be positive, and then it quickly turned south. He had a stroke, and he passed away in a care facility a few months later. So that's Ken, K6CJA Ken, who's been a ham for many, many years, and a lot of folks probably remember him. Okay, I'm running the Kenwood 520 with the TL922 alpha amplifier. I do have the VFO 520 external VFO fired up here just because it looks pretty when it's lit up. I have the external speaker, looks nice, and the MC50 microphone that I into an inverted V. Now, for the question of the evening, I thought about this. There's been so many different things over the years, but I think the one that's really, really cool is my KW1 had a pretty significant design change that Collins, I never thought necessary to send out a service bulletin, so a lot of KW1 owners didn't know it, that there was a design change around serial number 54. I have serial number 18. So anyway, to tell you what the failure mechanism was, anytime you release the push-to-talk button, the antenna relay would release before the high voltage contactor would allow enough time for the high voltage to decay. So what would happen is it would produce an induced voltage during the collapse of the PA, and it would produce about 38,000 volts. So that, of course, was very, very deadly. If you didn't have your arc gap adjusted properly, it would take out your variable vacuums, your doorknob capacitors, and things like that. A lot of hams would open up that gap because they got tired of hearing the spark every time they released the push-to-talk. What they didn't realize was by doing so, they destroyed a lot of very expensive kilowatt parts. Okay, Collins finally came out with a fix. It was they added a delay relay to hold that antenna relay closed until the contactor and the high voltage had a chance to decay to a safe level. The only problem is the aftermarket solution was really, really messy. You would have to run dangle wires in the relay in the very back of the transmitter, and it just looked ugly, and it was very sloppy, but it worked. So what was my restoration or improvement? I wanted to be able to implement the fix without the ugliness, the sloppiness, and whatnot. So what I decided to do, I got to thinking about it. I said, you know, even though that the antenna relay operates on 115, 17 volts AC, it's a winding. I bet you I can operate it with DC and a much lower voltage. So I characterized that with a DC voltage, and all I had to do was take that AC voltage, run it through a step-down transformer. On the output of the step-down transformer, I put a bridge rectifier to convert it to DC, put it right on the relay, and it would operate. Now, how did I do the timing? I wanted to be able to hold that relay closed after I released the push-to-talk. I simply added a capacitor right there on the output of the bridge. And I calculated it was about 250 microfarads per second or something like that. So I wanted 2 seconds, so I put a 450 microfarad capacitor on the output of the bridge. Held the relay, it was beautiful. Clean, works, you know, like I said, perfectly, and that was my improvement. And I didn't take away from the beautiful, you know, looks of the KW1. Everything's mounted and installed, so it looks professional. So that was my improvement. I'm very proud of it. And I've shared that information with other KW1 owners around the world, and that had lower serial numbers, and they've implemented it with great success. So that's one of the things that was done way before I became a member of the Collins Collectors Association. And I don't know if they would print it anyway, because it's not an original Collins idea. All right, so there you go. I think I turned it over to, let me look at the list here. Phil. Good signal tonight, Phil. N6WHK. I always call you K6. I do apologize for that. N6WHK. WA6JKN.
WA6JKN. November 6th. Whiskey Hotel Kilo. Well, 5 minutes all the way so far. The net is really starting out beautiful. No problem coping, baby, buddy. I'm running my Swan 350 Delta, which has had a little work on it, but I did not do it. George did. And it's very tedious work on it, on a circuit board inside of it which controls it. I'm running also the 811 amplifier to help the signal along through a coaxial inverted V antenna. And the design I got from YEC, which seems to work very, very well. Had no problem with it. No filler needed to use it. It just runs. And I really haven't worked on any of my equipment lately. I haven't been doing anything lately, except recouping from a little problem I had. But none of my equipment is needing any TLC. So I can't really answer that question on working on equipment. And that, for Ken last night, that was a very, very nice situation. And a very nice group of people. And the net did go a little long, but it's very enjoyable. So with that, AK6 Fire, over to you, sir. N6WHK.
Yeah, N6WHK in the group, AK6R, very good. Well, excellent comment, that is.
And they turned out
The audio just here. Hopefully I'll be back in here tomorrow night.
Anyway,
This is
yeah, we
fine.
have done a lot of restoration in our 60 years of being a ham, and I worked on an enormous amount of amplifiers. That was kind of where I like to spend most of my time, was on amplifiers, and they're just easy to do, and I don't have to worry about local oscillators and all kinds of other things. So did a lot of alpha amplifiers, and they were just sick puppies when I got them.
Very nice.
And we turned them into working amplifiers, and basically got them ready for people who had never had an amplifier before, who just wanted to get on the air. with an amp and stuff. So I kind of continue doing that. I do a lot of estates now, and I look for radios that can be used by new amps. I've got about 3 up right now, a TS440 and a Linko DXF77, and I try and find folks that are interested in ham radio and get them started with an inexpensive way to start the hobby off. You were mentioning about the GSB amplifier. Well, the last swap meet I had the exciter and I had the amplifier. And one guy came up to me and said he'd been looking for that pair for a long, long time. So I actually donated it to him. I gave it to him and said, this is yours. You're going to have to go through it, and you're going to have to play with it. He was so thankful, and I think I got as much enjoyment out of just letting him do something he'd been looking for such a long time. And having actually found it now, and I was able to facilitate that. And I've done that with lots of different rigs over about the past 8 or 10 months, basically finding homes for radios that need some help, but people want to learn from them. They want to take an old relic and see if they can fix it up. So rather than doing the fix up myself, I'm trying to teach people how to do it and at least think for themselves so that they'll learn something from it, or they'll get involved with ham radio and know what a great hobby it's been for all of us for such a long time. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Back to you, Jay. Thanks for taking the net tonight. Great question, and I'm sure we're going to hear some great answers. NY6L to take it from AK6R.
All right, Bob. Very, very good. Okay. All right. Let's get 4 more going here before I take a break here. Okay. Dennis, you're next. W62. Dennis, please give it to Vaughn. K6ZTA. Vaughn. Vaughn, please give it to Rocco N6KN. And then Rocco, please give it to Bill, WA6LGR, and then Bill give it back to me. Take it away, Dennis, and hopefully we'll see you here at the gathering. Looking forward to it. Take it away, Dennis. W62 NY6L.
Okay, very, very good. NY6L and the Vintage Single Site Jam Roundtable W62. Dennis here in Eagle Courage, and I'm running the 32S3A, 75S3C, and the 30S1 tonight. F-line, SM3 microphone out to the inverted C, it's up about 55, 60 feet. And everybody sounded great. Everybody has sounded fantastic, and so there we go. Good conditions tonight. I've had another station going on 160 meters on FT8 in the background trying to work Juan Fernandez Island. It's been going for a while. No joy on 160 meters. But anyway, I'll try later. Great, interesting question, Jay, and thanks for doing that. I was thinking about this, and my favorite radio, your restoration of the favorite radio. Well, my favorite radio to operate really is the KWM380. I just love that radio. And of course, when I received this one, it was not working. It was in very, very nice shape, but it was non-functional. So spent some time with it, got dug into it. And of course, the typical problem with the KWM380 are the tantalum capacitors. You got a couple of bad caps, so you got to trace that out. Not the easiest thing in the world to trace them out. Typically, they have a visual indication that they're bad. They'll outgas and squirt a little bit of the tantalum metal out and form a little ball on the side of the capacitor. Well, I couldn't spot any of those, so I had to do it the hard way and go around and try and figure it out. Well, one of the things I use is I've got the HP, I don't think anybody's familiar with this, but they had a set of test probes. One was a little sensor, and the other one was a pulsar. And so I'd send pulses. Now I knew it was probably going to be one of the capacitors because it was blowing a fuse. So put a pulse on that rail, that power supply rail, and went around looking for where the thing disappeared. And lo and behold, there it was. And so I replaced. There were actually several. several that I replaced, tantalum capacitors, and she came back to life, and that's the radio we're on many times here on the Roundtable, so I really enjoyed that. But that little HP, I can't think of what they called it, but it's a logic pulsar and a sensor. It's like a little magnetic pickup, and you just hold it next to a trace, and the little light on it will flash if it's getting the signal. If it's not getting the signal, it won't flash. So it's kind of a cool little tool and very useful, very helpful for finding stuff like that. But that helped a lot in doing it. But yeah, that's like I say, I enjoyed that radio a lot, and was really happy that I was able to figure out what was wrong with it. I still got one more to troubleshoot and get on the air, but oh well. My second KWM 380. Anyway, great question, and thanks for that, Jay. Thanks for hosting this evening for Ron. And Bob, thank you so much for taking the earlies tonight. And it was, like everyone, sorry to hear about Ken. Of course, I do remember Ken from the AMI net, and for many, many, many years. So it's really sad to hear that. So I'm glad you guys were able to do that last night. That's really cool. Without further ado, I'm going to send it over to Vaughn, K6's ZTA, and the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable from W6DQ. Yeah, W6DQ, K6ZTA. All right. Thank you, Dana. Yeah, we're running the 100B tonight, driving the SB220. And the antennas an inverted B and the receivers a straight 2B. So, the question of the evening is, first of all, I should say that all the radios that I've had, the vintage radios that I've had, have all worked. So I haven't had to get in there and fiddle with them. Maybe a little bit I did on the 100B when I first got it, but other than that, I'd have to say I have to kind of pass on the question of the evening then. And for relative to Ken, K6CJA, I knew Ken from the AM days. He usually got in there first on the list of for the night, AMers around the net, and what I enjoyed last night is a lot of. I mean, it was sad, but still, what was very uplifting was the accomplishment that and the things that Ken had done in his lifetime in the military and stuff like that. That was really neat. Hearing about those things. So with that, anyway, that's all I have, and I will turn it over to Rocco. M6KN, K6ZTA.
Okay, K6ZTA and a bunch from N6KN. Well, good evening to everybody. We're on the TS900 this evening, and I'm sorry to hear about K6CJA. Sure remember him on a, let's see, question of the evening. Well, that was a hard question for me to answer, because I have several radios I really like that I've struggled with. But two radios I have that I really like because they're cool are early serial number HRO 500s, and I really had to put in a lot of hours to make them work. But the thing that drove me nuts is aligning they have a VCO in there that is you tune with a variable capacitor, and you're trying to get it to lock on specific frequencies, so you end up with all the bands. That's how it works. That's how you select your band. And I could not get those VCOs to lock reliably and stay where they were supposed to be until I modified the circuit and I slowed down the sweep of the lock circuit. And if anybody is struggling with their HRO 500, let me know. But and my other remark about them that I've not solved is an easy way to change the dial lamps in those HRO 500s. It's enough to make you want to pull all the remaining hair out of your head, guaranteed. Let's see, I'm giving it to Bill, WA6LJR. Take it away, Bill. Don't hear him. WA6LJR, it's your turn. I don't hear him either. Okay, before I continue, this is JNY6L, Hesperia here. I'm your host for the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable. Let me see if there's any late check-ins that want to jump in here. Come slowly with your call and name, NY6L Hesperia.
Hello, Foxtrot 6, Quebec, November, Golf, Lisa.
Okay, Lisa, good evening. Anybody else?
Form was about 5 years ago.
Okay, Lisa, go ahead and take it since you were with Dennis there. Go ahead and jump in, Lisa, NY6L.
I'm sorry, Jay, did you turn it over to me?
Yeah, go ahead and jump in.
Okay, sorry, Dennis was talking to me and I couldn't hear, so, anyway, well, I should be at the end of the list, but anyway, good evening, one and all. I have no idea what the question is, but probably don't have an answer because it sounds like it's radio related, so with that, I'll turn it back to you. NY6L from KF6QMP.
All right, Lisa, very good. Okay, no problem. Okay, let's go with the next four here. We got Bob, WA9JIB. Bob. Bob, please give it to Larry, W6WUH. By the way, Larry, you got strong signal here. And Larry, please give it to Chris, KI6CSA. That'd be Chris. And then Chris, give it to John, WA6JUS, John. And then John, give it back to me. So Bob, go ahead and take it away. WA9JIB, NY6L. Your host for the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable.
NY6L, WA9JIB, Bob here in Lackawanna.
I only count on this frequency, man. I don't jump around bands and stuff like that. I've got 10 meter antennas.
Helicopters, that's it.
We got a 4 meter antenna.
I got a 48. Probably my favorite sideband right now.
Well, I
From Rocco.
just hate to...
Unfortunately, I didn't have to restore it. It's in pretty good shape. Did a couple little minor repairs on the 115. Nothing major. So my favorite radios I haven't had to restore. Well, let's see, a couple other things. Phil, welcome back. I know you've been out for a while, so I had to hear your voice in there. And again, sad to see that passed on. He was a good dude. Let's see, I can mention 2 radios, neither of which are my favorites. I'll go through them briefly. One is the SX28 I have, which I fired up this weekend. I was going to listen to the Super Bowl on it, although I wound up listening to it mostly on my Venus Ambush Hammock. I had to do an incredible amount of debugging on that radio. What I mean by that is when I opened up and took it out of the cabinet, probably about 500 bucks fell out of that thing. And the reason why I thought about that is I
I found another one in the tuning dial, between the glass plate and the tuning dial this weekend when I fired it up. I missed that one, literally probably 500 insects have made that home on my radio in all the years it was stored someplace else. But I also mentioned my National NC-57M for Marine, the one that goes down to low frequencies, which I think I got at the Pasadena City College Free Market, something like that. And the main column, which did need restoration, cried out for restoration, was the plastic that covered the tuning dial was all discolored, no longer transparent and warped. So I said, well, that's the job for today. So I pulled it out. Riveted in. All the rivets had to be pulled out. So I used it as a template of the plexiglass I had.
Anyway,
And of course,
I guess I'm over there.
I could drill through it.
It's healthy, and I appreciate you discussing your
So I had to cut various pieces, so I'll keep my Dremel.
Take care of yourself, and
Beautiful. Except just as I was about to finish the job with one more screw left to put in, because I was not going to rivet those screws with those little nylon insulators. That's generally what I replace rivets with. I love those things. I think I started to drop something in a rush to catch it. My hand caught the edge of the plexiglass where the last screw was going to attach and broke it. After quite a few hours of work on this thing, I broke the darn thing. Fortunately, I was in a spot that doesn't show in the window of the impression, and with a little tape, it does mount it very solidly. So one of your questions was, were you satisfied with your restoration? No, I was not, because I screwed it up right at the end. But only I know it still looks good, and I have used that radio a number of times on the AM net. So that's a little bit of a wacko story from JIB. Okay, over to Larry, W6WUH, WA9JIB.
Now we all know, Bob.
now we all know. Alrighty. WA9 JIB W6WUH, and oh golly, I'm trying to fool with my scope here to get the display back to where it's supposed to be, but I'm not getting there. Oh well. Well, the only problem with answering the question is that I don't know what my favorite radio is. I really just don't have one. I guess my favorite radio repairing story, however, is at one point in my life I had a Globe King 400C, I think, and I had an Orphan 500B RF deck, and I didn't want to run push-pull triodes and plug-in coils. So I decided I would marry the two things together. Well, I got all the documents and I got all the parts and made sure that it could be done. And I don't know, some point along the line, I decided I got tired of the idea and I sold it to a guy. And I drove all the way up to Gold Rush country to deliver this thing to him, with all the parts and the spare tubes and all the documents and everything. And a month later, I get an irate phone call from him saying, well, I can't sell this and make any money. And he was really angry. And somebody had told him that they told me it can't be done. I said, well, I'll just come up there and give you your money, and I'll come up and take it back. So I did that. I brought it home, and it sat here for, I don't know, 6 months or a year. And finally, I decided I would go ahead and to prove the naysayers wrong. So I built up all the cables and did all the usual overhauls that you do to a Globe King and put it together. And of course, it worked just fine. And I used it for a couple of years, and
I guess it was my favorite because it was so satisfying to be able to use it after all of the experts told me that it couldn't be done. Over to you, KI6 Cub Scouts of America, I guess it is, Chris, W6WUH. Oh, and about Ken, I wanted to mention Ken. Ken was always extremely nice to me. I knew Ken on the 3870 back in the spam days, long before AMI was even dreamed of, and just always a nice guy, and we would always get on and chat before the AMI net. Ken would usually skip that, but he'd be on there early and talk with you. And he ran about the only high power screen modulated AM rig that I can remember hearing, and it sounded wonderful. And of course, those things are very critical to adjust. So a good guy, and I was really sorry to hear that he's gone. A year ago, when I was down at Jay's house, Ken came over to say hello. So at least I got to meet him, which was nice. KI6 Charlie Sierra Alpha, W6WUH. Go ahead, Chris.
Anyway, this is W6JUS, and I think you all heard me talk about the big model with the 4-250 push-pull modulated by 810. I was certainly emotionally drawn into that project because my uncle, my dad's older brother, did things like that. And to have the man who built it be able to come over every few weeks and tell me what to do next, it was a treat. But it was dangerous. The modulator has its own power supply that's rated at 2 kVA and runs just shy of 4,000 volts. And the insulation in the wiring underneath the modulator under the chassis was starting to crack. And that wiring needed to be replaced. There was some other things. So, and the modulation deck with a humongous Mars transformer has to weigh 150 pounds. I had it on an organ bench upside down for a long time. And can you imagine bringing that up with a big variac, knowing that before I flew it would be close to 4,000 volts. I have bucking transformer on the input for the line so that it was about 3,800 trim comfort. But the amazing thing is that it came up and worked fine the first time and never has given me any problems. I mean, that could have ended my career with its enormous potential for danger, but it didn't. Fools rush in, where wise men fear the tread. Anyway, the big ball move continues to give me comfort. So, Jay, back to you, NY6L W86GUS.
Okay, very good job. Thank you so much. Okay. All right, this is JNY6L. Just here, your host for the Vintage Single Sideband Roundtable. Let's see if anybody else wants to get in at the tail end before we get to the end of the list here. Come now to NY6L.
I'm back at the base station, K6L, yeah.
Hey, Skip, we got you on the list here. Okay, all right, the last set I have here, Matt, N4DLA. Matt, please give it to Skip, K6LGL. Skip, please give it to George, W6YEC, and then George, give it back to me. Over to you there, Matt. Go ahead and pick it up. N4DLA, NY6L.
Okay, thank you very much, NY6L. And a Vintage Sideband Roundtable from Matthew N4DLA in Orinda, California, about 15 miles east of San Francisco. Running a Heathkit HW12 with the D104 microphone, listening on the AK7 Heathkit speaker, going through the Heathkit HM102 watt meter into a 75 meter dipole, sloping down from about 60 feet, powered by a Heathkit HP23 Bravo power supply. And this Heathkit HW12 was given to me by Keith, K6KWR, so I call it my Keith kit. And he had been trying to restore it, and then due to his some health problems, he decided not to restore it. So it didn't need much work. I don't know how far along he had been on working on it. It needed a 20 microfarad electrolytic replaced in the receiver section, and all of a sudden the receiver came to life. And I got all my advice from the Heathkit Groups IO email group. There's some real good Heathkit experts on there, including W5RKL there. So they were very helpful in getting this thing back on the air, and also helping me remove some sort of trimmer capacitor, I think, for military affiliate radio service that was on the DFO. I got rid of that, put things back to normal with the help of a duplicate manual. So this was probably the favorite restoration project. Keith is really happy it's back on the air. And thanks to N9AMI, you can listen to it on one of the YouTube recordings a while back when I first put it on. So, okay, over to Skip. K6LGL in Santa Monica by the Bay from N4DLA in Orinda.
Sounds great, Matthew.
Over to you there, Skip, K6LGL, NY6L.
Yeah, I'd like to sort of say the third GM there. Okay, thank you. NY6L. And the Windward Sideband Group, K6 Little Green Lake, Skip in Santa Monica. Well, anytime you're going to run anything with high voltage and where you have a fair amount of capacitance and build-up, you have to run sequential switching in the relay. So I did that, changed that over in my DX100, the solid stated, the 5R4s we replaced the solid state diodes and so on. And then one relay, you turn off the high voltage before you turn on the receiver, transfer that, and you make sure that you can discharge those capacitors. And then I rebuilt the group and the 400 and changed it to 572Bs, and I rebuilt the modulator, and likewise put a relay starting the modulation transformer. W6RD, Wayne came up with a column, so 200 watt modulation transformer. I think that should come out probably about 250 without the starting. That worked out really good with the 8011. And I also rebuilt our power supply. And again, shorted out normally the modulation transformer. That saves quite a bit. But the relay, you build, make sure that the relay is well insulated above ground. And in case any high voltage breaks down. And in regards to Mr. Ken Hale, K6CJA, ran across him around about 1998, I think, or 99, and it was the first gathering. And Ken was a terrific firearms enthusiast, did his own reloading. He built at that time his AM rig, which ran a 4-400, modulated by, I think, they call it Hercules. He worked on that particular plane over a number of years, so he had a certain relationship with it. And that in the early years, he was running a group, the 400, anyway, a militarized receiver, which is not quite the same class as the 600 there, but he was fairly pleased. So I have good memories of Ken, and he was net control on the W6BCN and W6HCX, and I was net control in those early years. The first 5 years of the new millennium, I was quite active. Enough of that. So, over to you there, George. W6YEC. And the Windward Sideband Group, K6 Little.
Yeah, okay. Skip real good. K6LGL. W6YEC picking it up. I think you were thinking about the Super Pro 400. I think Ken had that as maybe what you might have been thinking about. Yeah. Anyway, good stuff. Nice sharing tonight. Good question there, Jay. Thanks a lot. And the rig we're on here tonight for a change is the Swan 500, no letters. I think they only made this rig 1 year. And it's become a favorite. I wouldn't say it is my favorite out of all the rigs. It's not the one that I would latch onto and not get rid of. Yeah, I'm not planning to get rid of it. It's put a lot of time and work into it, and it came out pretty good. And cleaned it all up and painted the cabinet. And I really enjoy getting on the Swan Collector's Net on Saturday with it. That's normally when it gets used. But tonight we're using it because I had my amplifier disconnected from my TS520 sugar, which is actually my favorite.
That's the one I'm on here a lot with. The 520 sugar. And this goes back in my life, back in the days that I wanted that particular radio back in the 70s. They had just come out with them in 75, and it just was always intriguing to me. Beautiful, beautiful design, I thought, and audio was just superb. So it's always been one of my favorites as far as a vintage radio goes. And this one here, the VFO was in pretty bad shape when I got it, and I had to take that all apart and clean it up and get it working right, and then ended up losing the IF board. And I thought, you know what, I had a spare around here, a junker, for parts. I said, I'm going to take a chance and wire that board into this radio. And it was a lot of work doing that. And but instead of taking the time to try to find the individual component on the board, it just was going to be too time consuming. So it all worked out, and I was able to get it working again, and changed out, put the CW filter in the board that I was going to replace the old board with, and I've been so happy with it. And I've got the Kenwood monitor station monitor, the SM220, and have just thoroughly enjoyed using that with the fan adapter for this radio. So I went through and made the mod so that it would work with the fan adapter. And so anyway, it's the one that I enjoy because it's got a connection in my path. And the first one I ever had, I was looking for a TS520, and lo and behold, Bernie, I can't remember Bernie's call, not our Bernie from the AM days, but Bernie, who was actually a cameraman in Hollywood at Universal Studios. He ended up coming on the 0464 repeater down here in San Diego, mentioning he had this 520 with the digital display and speaker and all that for sale. And I gave him a call for him. I would like to get that from him. He says, where are you located? I said, San Diego. He says, I'm on a San Diego repeater? I said, yep. So he was kind enough to meet me at LAX. I had a trip I had to make to San Jose, and on the way back, I swung through LAX and met him in the airport, and he had it all boxed up for me, and handed him the money, and brought it home, and was so thrilled back in the 70s with that radio, probably 78, something like that. And I've worked Bernie a number of times when he was on his yacht sailing around the world, and don't know that he's still alive today. Gave me his QSL card, which had a picture of John Wayne, the Duke, with his arms around Bernie, and I guess he was his favorite cameraman. Anyhow, those are tremendous memories for me anyway. So that's my story, Jay. Back to you, NY6L. Thanks for taking the net. Good job tonight. W6YEC. Okay, George. Very good. Wow, great stories here. Okay, let's see here. Anybody else on the tail end wants to jump into the vintage single sideband roundtable before I call it an evening? Come to NY6L. Okay, hearing none. Okay, let's see here. Wow, a lot of great stories here. Well, I'm going to have to polish up a gold cup here to give away. I think I might give it to Kevin, WA6JKN. He had a very profound, interesting a fix for a transmitter. Early serial number there is causing havoc when you unkey. That was incredible. So, Kevin, any words there? WA6JKN, NY6L.
Yeah, NY6L, WA6JKN. Well, I can tell you right off the bat here that I'm very honored for that Golden Cup, and polished even by Jay. That even makes it more special. Well, thank you very much, Jay. Yeah, the KW1 is a great rig. I grew up on it as a young junior op and learned everything about it, and got me interested in electronics, of course. And of course, there were other fine radios too that my dad had in his shack, and it was just fun growing up with a ham operator. So my sons are a couple of them are ham operators. I have grandkids that are ham operators. I have a son-in-law that's a ham operator. So it didn't do 100%, but it did inspire a few people, and it's things like the Collins gear that it really does have the lure to get people interested in the hobby. Well, thank you again, Jay, and thank you to the rest of the net there for all your stories. I really enjoyed them. There's a lot of great restoration going on to keep these old radios alive and well. You know, the things that glow in the dark, that's the best part about it. Back to you, Jay, NY6L, WA6JKN.
Yeah, go ahead, George.
Yeah, if I might, I'd like to make a recommendation of a silver cup going to Bob. I don't know if you were going to give away a silver cup, but if you have one, I'd polish one up for him. I was really touched by his story in giving that gentleman that cup. I thought that was awesome. What a display of amateur radio. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think Bob does deserve a well-polished silver cup. So what do you think of that, Bob?
Well, thank you, George. You're elevated to the #1 nominee tonight, so thank you very much. Yeah, I just have a good time making sure people have a good time with amateur radio, that's all. It's one of the goals of the company that we own now is to make sure we can take away some of the problems with RFI and give them good antennas that work so that it makes an enjoyable hobby for us, for all. And I really enjoyed giving that stuff away. And I do have lots of stuff like that, so I kind of know what people are looking for. And if it comes by, don't turn down a call from me because I usually have something for you. Anyway, we'll see everybody Saturday. That's going to be at the swap meet, and look forward to doing it all over again. Thanks a lot, George, and thanks, Jay, and everybody else for being a part of the net tonight. NY6L, AG6R.
Okay, Bob, very good. And thank you there, George, too. So, all right, everyone, I want to wish everybody a heartfelt good evening. And starting to enjoy hosting the net, and it's getting to be fun. So I'm going to say 7-3 to all. Have a good evening, and this is Jay, NY6L, saying good night, and 7-3. And we'll catch you everyone down the log. NY6L is now clear.